Hello snacks, welcome back, and okie dokie, I have found some of the strangest stories on my feed over the last few days, and I think it's fair enough to compile them all into this video for you. So, without further ado, let's begin. My husband sent a scene from his bachelor party a day before the wedding. Our wedding was planned today. Today, I would have been getting married to the man I loved and had been in a relationship with for 7 years. Now, I'm sitting here, clearing wedding purchases and announcing a cutoff. Last evening, my husband and his group of friends had a bachelor party. I received a video call from him to find myself staring at all of them hooking up with the bustiest of ladies. My husband turned the camera towards himself and asked me to say hi to his partner. I didn't know what to do. For a moment, I was confused. I cut the call and called my sister. As you can expect, the wedding was immediately cut off. I received a couple of messages from his friends and saying that they just wanted to have fun. My ex-fiance told me he wanted to enjoy before a lifelong of commitment. 7 years I spent with this man, only for this to happen. I imagined having kids with him, having pets with him, taking care of him, going to family trips, dropping our kids to school, so much. I feel so lost now, 7 years into the drain, and I'll never see him after this. This sense of confusion is still clouding me. It's hard to believe I was cheated on. That video call is haunting me. He showed his inserted part in her. Through the call, I feel disgusted by the fact that I used to sleep with him. I had gone to return the wedding dress. I don't know what to do or how to feel. A part of me says that I should be grateful I don't have kids with him. I mean, bro, what the living hell? It gets many in the comments to really hope this is fake because, it seems so over the top for it to not be fake. Even make other people wonder how many of his friends were married during the same thing. I hope she spreads it to all the other partners because he is one dumb piece of crap. And it's even got OP responding to some of this, that this wasn't something that has been in the works for a while or anything. There was no signs to OP. He apparently was fine in those 7 years, never made a doubt of anything. It's a really great story to read if you're someone with any sort of relationship anxiety. Now, of course, here's where some analysts in the comments have their own spit to take. The instant giveaway was the Tuesday wedding and Monday bachelor party. Yeah, she apparently got everything cancelled by noon as well, which, look, fair. But I personally know a couple who have been dating for a month and are getting married in less than another 2, with all their bachelor and bridal parties happening in between then. And anyone preparing for weddings can know that they are, that's crazy. That is a crazy feat to pull. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they genuinely had their bachelor event the day before the wedding. Not everyone books these things at crazy lavish places that need 5 months of booking in advance, you know? But I'll leave the superstitions up to you. For all we know, OP actually hasn't fully canceled things yet. They're just in the process of doing it, and it was easier to type that they have canceled than that they are still going through it all. The biggest frick you I could ever muster to the fireman who answered my call 5 months ago. I was right. It is gas. Yeah, get ready to never trust a fireman's opinion ever again. For so long I have smelled something in my apartment that smelled like gas. I was sick. My roommates were sick. My cats were showing signs of stress. I thought I was insane because a lot of people couldn't smell it like I could. I knew it wasn't okay though. So I was airing out the apartment regularly and checking outlets and stuff. Finally, I gave up and got a super nice gas detector. The second I plugged it in, it went absolutely buck wild. Told me there was insane levels of gas in my apartment. I plugged it in 3 different rooms. Same results. I finally called fire, gathered my cats to evacuate, wake my roommate, opening doors and windows for the firemen. I mean, obviously, I'm terrified. When they got there were 2 firemen who came in. An older man who seemed to be in charge, and a younger guy. The older man was the cockiest mother flipper I've ever seen. At first, I was hopeful about this. He seemed experienced. Too bad, so sad. He came in and treated it like it was some massive joke. I was already upset. This did not help. He walked up to my heater closet. I said I had been smelling something from there too, because I don't know where it's coming from. And he looks around, tells me to turn off my AC because something was burning, and walks out. The younger guy was so nice and tried so hard. He asked me to see the alarm. I showed him it going off, even brought it out to the truck. Both came back in. Older guy makes a joke about how he had to call the other trucks coming off. He proceeds to tell me that my gas detector that I bought, I know the function of, was picking up the smoke from my aircon. At this point, I'm practically arguing with him, telling him it doesn't pick up smoke. He tells me it does. He was condescending and rude. They didn't once check with their own meters. They didn't even attempt to help me figure out the alarm. All he did was make a big joke of my fear, argue with me instead of help or try to understand, and leave. At the end of the day, doesn't even matter if it was nothing. I was freaking scared. I figured out I had indeed screwed up the detector somehow, though. So I let it go for months, but I kept smelling it. At one point, I even decided I was hallucinating and I needed to work on my anxiety. It's been me this whole time, stressing my cats out, until I finally figured out my mystery smell was real and coming from under my kitchen sink. It was extremely strong under there. The fireman was wrong. My gas detector was either wrong or doesn't check for it. It was sewage gas. The maintenance man came by today. He's really great. I get him often. I couldn't let it go. I told him about the smell. He seemed skeptical, but he told me to be honest. I told him it smelled like gas and it's under my sink. I cleaned it out and told him to stick his head under there and he'll smell it. He sticks his head under there, just kind of staring under there. I asked if he smells it. He gets up and tells me it's gas. My apartment has been openly exposed to gas because there is a freaking massive hole connecting my apartment to the building's pipes. He's giving me a bunch of stuff for my kitchen now because he's cool and obviously fixing the hole right now. So screw you, fireman. Full force, screw you. Other guy, thanks for trying. I'm sorry you work with him. Me, my cats, my roommate, my boyfriend have all been living with and breathing in sewage gas for months, if not longer. If you wouldn't have been such a cocky a-hole and actually tried to help me, this could have been fixed 5 months ago. Anyways, cheers to not breathing in sewage gas anymore. Also, edit, I'm so sorry I am crazy busy today. I've tried to reply to some people but couldn't finish, so hopefully an edit reaches some of you. Thank you so much to all the people telling me who to reach out to. I will be taking your advice. Thank you to everyone wishing me and the kitties good health. I looked it up, and there's not much info on if we need to see a doctor, so I'll be scheduling them a vet appointment tomorrow morning about the situation, and me eventually. I appreciate the info, everyone. Also, please, do not dismiss sewer gas. It can absolutely be explosive. I'm upset I even let myself dismiss it for so long. Thanks again, everyone. Hooray! How nice to know that emergency services are also willing to gaslight you. There is some sort of joke there somewhere about gaslighting from the fireman and them telling you it's not gas. I genuinely can't figure it out right now, but I'm sure I'll leave it up to you in the comments. You help me out. I found out my boyfriend of 3 years gets off on cheating and making fun of me to other people. I, 22 female, and my now ex, 23 male, were together for 3 years, living together for 1. We have a dog together and I've known him for almost 8 years now. When I knew him in high school, he was always obsessed with me. He always really liked me and was so nice to me. And as a not necessarily conventionally attractive person, that was the first time I really experienced someone really being into me. I fell for him really fast because it just seemed like this guy loved me so much. He told me he loved me before we were even dating, and he would just constantly tell me I was the one for him. I loved him so much. This past December, I went through his phone and found out he was cheating on me with his coworker, and it had been going on for few months. We broke up, but in February, we started hanging out and seeing each other again. My big mistake. And we started officially dating again over a month ago. The night before last, I had that same anxious feeling again. It was like 3 a.m. and I got up to go through his phone. At first, I couldn't find anything and I was so relieved, and I actually put his phone back, but something kept telling me to look again, so I did. I went on Snapchat and through a separate tab, I found a contact who he had silenced the notifications for. The name, also a man's name, but the little bitmoji was a female. I go through it and I find a million times more than I expected. He's been cheating on me the entire 3 years with a friend of his. Not only that, but part of the fun for both of them is making fun of me and humiliating me, saying awful things about me. There was a message of him calling me fat, ugly, disgusting. Literally name it, and he was getting off on calling me that to this girl. I even contacted her to verify that's actually what I was seeing, because I knew this girl and she confirmed everything. She said he really enjoyed saying bad things about me and telling her how much better she was than me, and she got off feeling like she was good enough to make someone cheat. I feel like my brain and body don't even know how to react. I'm genuinely in shock and I don't know where to go from here. How do I begin to process that the man who I thought has been in love with me this whole time actually hates me and thinks I'm fat, ugly, and disgusting, as well as a million other hurtful things? What do I do? Man, it's a real sad experience to have when the best advice anyone can give is, hey, better now than never. Now you get to revert to last checkpoint and start your life all over again. New beginnings. Woo! Because that's something we all love doing when we've made a lot of progress in something. Start it all over again. Really Sisyphus our lives, Come on, everyone. Let's be sissies together. But okay, I'm going to shout out this comment. For anyone or you yourself, dealing with this sort of shock revelation of someone. First, realize that he is a con artist, a liar, and a messed up person. Those characteristics make his opinion about you mean nothing. He told you what you wanted to hear so that you would fall for him. He talked trash about you to her because she wanted to hear it. It's all lies. You can't trust anything that he has ever said, which is a great point. It is absolutely valid to theorize that he didn't actually think those things about you. He was just saying them because he knew that she was into that, and it would make her feel more inclined to want to sleep with him because, well, like a snake eating its own tail. Being the con artist and liar he is, he'll say anything to get what he wants from someone. And if that means degrading someone he's dating to get what he wants, yeah, he'll say it even if he doesn't genuinely believe it. Second, realize that the guy you fell for does not exist. You need to grieve the fantasy man he presented, but understand that he was never that man. He isn't even capable of being that man. Third, realize that you are better than him and her. Drop them from your life completely. Start focusing on you, your physical health, your mental health, and get an STI check. Finally, don't dwell on the failed relationship. You are young. You have time. One day you will find someone who respects you and loves you. You did nothing wrong. He was the problem, and now he no longer has to be. Moving on to this crazy wife story. My brother and his wife are heading towards a divorce. She has Ehlers-Danlos and has been bedridden for 5 years. I think it's all bull. For those who don't know, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is people who have very elastic skin that causes a lot of difficulty in life. Symptoms include overly flexible joints that can dislocate and skin that's translucent, elastic, and bruises easily. Basically, it's the life of Elastigirl and Mr. Fantastic, but not as it all cracks up to be. So my brother and his wife have been married for about 15 years. Ever since the beginning, I've always felt a little skeptical of her. She's a southern gal that likes to romanticize everything. Think a Facebook junkie that loves posting inspiring messages that are totally over the top.
From the depths of my soul, I wish you all to find happiness in your life. I truly do. Never give up. Hashtag miracles are real. Hashtag he has a plan.
Etc. That sort of stuff. Now, she's a sweetheart, though, and doesn't have a malicious bone in her body, but she's the type of person who wishes she lived in a Hallmark movie, and she loves attention. Over the last 15 years, she's had one thing happen to her after another. About 10 years ago, she also started feeling chronic pain and was more and more reclusive, opting to spend most of the time we visited them in bed. Now, she wasn't ignoring us, because we always made it a point to come up and even would spend time in their room watching movies and just talking, but for the most part, she stayed in bed. Eventually, it was determined that she had something called POTS, and then later Ehlers-Danlos. These were both pretty much self-diagnosed and then confirmed by doctors. But since then, both of these afflictions have completely taken over her life. She started using a wheelchair, her body has deteriorated, she basically has zero leg muscles, with a much larger upper body from eating terribly. She's had highly invasive procedures like spinal fusions, ports, and all sorts of other stuff over the years. Everything is a miracle cure on Facebook, and she talks about how she's a girl boss.
Guys, I did something today. I walked down the stairs to get a drink without my caregiver.
Is a typical post on Facebook. Of course, next week when I ask my brother how she's doing, she's had setbacks and is feeling worse than she was before. It's always one step forward and 3 steps back. See, what gets me is that these posts are obviously pity parties. But of course, she would never ask people to cry for her and talk about how terrible things are. No, that's not what the protagonist does in a Hallmark movie. They have stiff upper lips. They are courageous. They never complain and live life to the fullest, despite how terrible things are. So she makes a post with her sitting in her wheelchair or wearing a neck brace and will say things like,
Guys, I just had the best day ever. I sat up. Normally when I sit up, I get lightheaded and pass out. But today, thanks to my 3 physical therapists, I've been able to sit up. These are the little things people sometimes take for granted, but I just had to share. Hashtag ED can't stop me. Hashtag girl boss. Hashtag not today.
So she gets a million likes and comments saying how proud they are of her and how she's an inspiration. We're all supposed to be so thrilled and excited, but all it really is a reminder that she's basically bedridden and should be pitied and lavished with attention. Now, thankfully, she hasn't tried to move into influencer status, and I honestly don't feel like she has influencer or financial incentives at heart. She simply craves the attention, the pity, and the status as being an inspiring role model for other people and being the main character of her own Hallmark movie. And I just freaking can't stand it. I think this is all bull. I'm sure she's in pain, but that's what happens when your body deteriorates from not doing anything for 10 years. She tries to solve all her issues with pills and procedures, but doesn't do anything when it comes to actually working hard at rehabilitating her body. Listen, I know EDS is a real thing, but I've also read how commonly it's faked. Certain types can be genetically tested for. Of course, hers hasn't. But throughout all of this stuff, my brother has been a bloody saint. He's never complained. Luckily, he owns a business that is doing well enough that nothing has led to financial issues, but it easily could have since nothing is covered by insurance. He's a very active and outgoing guy, so it kills me seeing him spend his entire young adult life basically being her caregiver. In the past year, however, he has reached a breaking point. He had a short-lived affair, realized life was slipping by, and immediately told her about it. Now she's forgiven him, and basically will say things like,
You can win me back. Let's renew vows. Get me another ring.
all that bull smack you see in a movie, of course. He knows deep down that he doesn't want to win her back, and has essentially been letting the relationship die over the past 9 months. He wants to take care of her financially, but once out, he needs a life. Well, this past weekend, she finally sends a text saying that they are done, and the separation is moving forward. Oh, and what do you know? She has started making posts on Facebook about how she hasn't used her wheelchair in days. She can now walk a mile in a day when she couldn't walk 20 steps. I mean, where the hell was this 4 years ago when you maybe could have rehabilitated and lived an actual life? Where the hell was this when my brother was wasting away his life, not traveling, not creating memories for his girls, having memories that he had growing up as a kid, going on hikes and going to the beach? You see, on top of all of this, they have 2 daughters. The older one is 12 and is having all sorts of other issues, including anorexia and self-harm. I love her, but I see this as a response to all the bull that her mom has put her through her entire life. She has always been an attention-seeking kid. She is also very sweet, but unfortunately, I believe that all of these cries for help wouldn't be happening if her own mother wasn't the way she is. Look, I know this last part makes me an a-hole, and I honestly have no ill will towards the daughter. I think what she is doing to herself is very serious, and I don't want to take it lightly, but she is also a very sheltered girl, and it's hard not to believe that the mother isn't the root cause. Now, I'm so happy that my brother is finally going to be rid of this soon. Obviously, he has plans to take care of her financially in perpetuity, and isn't planning to have any toxic fights over money or custody. He will do what's right. The only thing now is that I'm terrified that one of her stupid followers is going to share what happened, and he somehow becomes some viral villain that gets crucified by a-holes who have no idea what the actual situation is. Yeah, bro has a long rant to say that he doesn't appreciate that his brother's partner is too sick for him to have a good life. Did you pick that up as well reading this story? It seems 90% of it is him blasting all these accusations and then finding it a coincidence when she's, well, the wife is suddenly getting better when she no longer has her husband to support her. Honestly, I think it makes sense that she would be capable of doing that now. It's amazing how our bodies can work with sudden amounts of stress and needing to, get our Schmidt sorted, so to speak. See, I think this comment here makes a great point of it all. I'm a healthcare worker for 20 years. Outlandish attention hogs get sick too. Unfortunately, they are neither more nor less irritating to work with than the grumpy, self-sufficient stoics who refuse to ask for help or participate in rehab. Dealing with infirmity is hard, and people gotta do what they gotta do to get through it. But personally, I prefer people with some perspective and a collaborative attitude, both in the hospital and everywhere else. Basically making the point that, sure, she seems to be reaching out for love and pity, but that doesn't mean what she's going through isn't real. Like, you can accuse a famous person for jumping on a cause just to get the attention and approval that they care about this thing, but while that is a valid point to make, that doesn't dismiss the fact that they could still truly care about the cause they are boasting about online. But despite this, people with Ellers themselves actually chime in some comments, while acknowledging that they too have their own ups and downs, the whole one step forward, three steps back experience, that yes, this wife does seem to be a bit of a con artist about it. But the fact is, though, you can never really be sure. I mean, there's a reason why there's a lot of human medical issues that haven't been solved fully to this day, because the human body is very complicated and everyone's unique in how they deal with them. But hey, yeah, despite that, I think it's still valid for this person to be frustrated with this person making such a scene about it, I suppose. But then again, I have to ask that question. What if this is the only way she's found to be able to cope? You might find it annoying, but, you can always just close the app or just hide her posts from your social media feed. It's not like she's trying to start some sort of uprising of any kind that you need to put in your 2 cents about. You can just ignore the content. Let me know what you think, though, and we'll move on. I have been tormenting my friend's assaulter. My friend, 26 female now, was 12 when he fed her beer and kissed her, and 13 when he committed the act against her. She contacted him a couple of times, and his only reply was, "I was on drugs. I don't remember." And she eventually let it go. She told her aunt, but then backpedaled and said it was someone else because she didn't want to see her aunt in pain. So if it isn't clear, most likely this perpetrator was her uncle. Recently, she found out they were getting divorced and was lamenting how terrible he has been to her aunt. So she was discussing with me if she should tell her again. Now, this is something that still affects her to today. Despite having years of therapy, she doesn't want to make a big deal of it, so she wasn't sure if she should bring it up again. I've also experienced a similar crime, and him never having consequences enraged me. So I started with an anonymous email account. I've sent him an email every day for 2 weeks calling him what he is, a child predator. Today, I graduated to text messages. It wasn't hard to find his phone number. I don't know where I will go from here, but I know I'm not done. He left his wife and 2 kids for his affair partner. Now he's a kept boy, living in an expensive apartment, driving a new car, and ignoring his wife and kids for his new, better life. His victims have struggled with intimacy, drug addiction, and mental health. She's just now starting to pick up the pieces, and now this scumbag is back in her head. So I want to make him remember what he did every single day until I'm bored of it. Now, what do you think such a post would inspire among the comments in this post? Naturally, some great suggestions to escalate this. Wreck him. Find affair partner's info and blast her. Get another email account and send 2 emails a day. Does she have kids? He probably didn't stop with your friend. Send his work emails. Post her his face with a reminder of what he is and what he's done. Some people say take the high road, but I think you should ruin his life if you can. Glitter bombs are real hard to clean up, and I think some places let you customize them to a degree. Just a fun fact of the day. Now, some argue that this is just a case of you letting him live rent-free in your head, that what you're doing is probably illegal because you're harassing someone. To which the OP has proudly replied that, well, he's freaked out now. He's trying to call the police, but technically she hasn't threatened him. She's just told him that she knows what he did. Which, hey, if he's feeling threatened by that, then that's some great evidence that he knows what he did. So, honestly, I'm against everyone here in these comments trying to offer some thought that,
Just be careful. Focus your energy more on supporting others instead of just trying to get revenge.
like, nah. When the OP says things like, my problem is he seems to think he's a good person. Every time I've seen him, he talks about how smart or cute or how much his life has improved. No. You pry open his fuel cap and pour sugar in it. I can't remember what that does exactly, but I know it does some damage to someone's car. So there you go. That's just a fact. I don't think you should do it legally. The disclaimer. I'm just saying it's a fun fact.